Alright, so we got the B275 pulled up onto the porch last night. And of course, after all the troubles with the battery and trying to get it start with it being 20-something degrees out, we called it an evening. But, so I get it up here. I parked it on this tarp to try to just keep from getting so much of the mess on the porch. And it was actually like the perfect size tarp, as you can see there, which was kind of just coincidental, but it worked out really good. Now I've kind of always known the petcock is leaking on that step. That's going to get replaced. It's kind of up in there. I don't know if you just seen it drip or not, but it does. And just to show you, this thing was puking so much oil, just blowing it out of the water. And then, you know, it's running down on the hoses. I don't know if I'm getting in a good light or not, or if you need the flashlight, but just absolutely soaked. And I've actually already used an entire can of cleaner on this side of the engine here, and it still looks like that. Just mucky, wet, terrible, dripping. It was dripping off the oil pan. One thing I don't like is to discover that the front seal is leaking. Well, there you go. Look at that fitting right there. That's crankcase vent tube. That actually is routed up to the intake manifold. It's kind of like a modern day PCV, positive crankcase ventilation. So that's meant for the engine to burn the oil vapors that are, you know, being produced by the engine running. And it's supposed to be vacuum on that fitting to keep from blowing by. You know, it's blowing out that crack right there, you know, in that seal. You know, and even with the positive crank tube, they're straight hooked up to there, full vacuum. It was still blowing by that bad. But the front crank seal's leaking. Not bad. I only bought an inframe overhaul. I didn't inframe rebuild kit. I didn't get a full overhaul kit, so I don't even have this front timing cover gasket. And I don't care to do that at a later date. This is just to freshen up, get it running good enough to use. Now, the disturbing part is, and you can see my cleaner. Yeah, you'll be able to see it. See those light colored spots? Now, I've never parked this thing over anything but gravel or grass, but I look down and I'm like, huh, that looks like coolant. And sure enough, this thing's leaking coolant from this Dorman freeze plug somebody put in it at some point. I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up, or I will have to shine a light on. There you go. See how it's shiny underneath there? If it focuses. Yeah, right there at that point it's shiny. So, I don't know if I'll try just smacking that in farther, because it is sticking out a lot. It almost doesn't look like it's the right size. But I'm not going to braze it in or do anything crazy like that. I'd rather just get the right freeze plug for it. I'm pretty convinced that the head gasket was leaking. And also what convinces me of that is when I looked in there, I don't know if it's still up there. Yeah, it's already sank. When I first took that cap off, there was a big brown swirl. And if anybody knows anything about mechanics, engines, and coolant, when you get oil in your coolant, you pretty much have milky coolant. The water pump just churns it and it milks up into like a chocolate milkshake. That's what that radiator looked like when I first popped the cap. Like I said, obviously now that spot has either floated away or settled wherever in the radiator. Yeah, that's where we're at with it. We're going to start taking it apart here within the next few minutes. And like I said, we're only going to take the valve cover off, the head, and the oil pan. New cylinder jugs, oil pan head gasket, valve cover gasket, rod bearings. Didn't buy main bearings because they're like $150. And from what I talk to most people, the main bearings on these tractors don't really wear out. And that's kind of the purpose behind an in-frame kit, is just like a refresh to get your power back, you know, if you don't completely need to, you know, do an overhaul. The rear main's not leaking, so I won't ever have to, or well, would not say ever, but I won't have to split the tractor. And then I got a bunch of wiring issues to take care of, and what have you. And this thing, the hour meter is, well, that's what the hour meter looks like. So, being that it's only 3 digits, number 1, and number 2, it's just sludge looking in there. No idea how many hours are on it, but this thing's a 1959, so we'll go from there, I guess.